Coming up, State of Business, sponsored by
SLT Mobitel Fiber. Deshe Fiber Balavegya.
IWS Aviation.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Hishain Ali and let's have a look at the headlines first. Government has lots of plans to provide a shelter for all. Prime Minister tells in Parliament. Laws should be amended soon to regulate the LP gas industry, PUCSL stresses. News in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa emphasized that the measures taken worldwide to combat the pandemic, although they proved invaluable in saving countless lives, came at a steep cost. President Rajapaksa, delivering the inaugural address at the Indian Ocean Conference held in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, last weekend, said that the rapid decline in economic activities have recent for serious long-term consequences on global travel, trade and economic growth.
The measures taken worldwide to combat the pandemic, although they proved invaluable in saving countless lives, came at a steep cost. The rapid decline in economic activity these measures caused have had serious long-term consequences on global travel, trade, and economic growth. Developing countries in particular have been very badly impacted. The loss of revenue from tourism, the loss of foreign exchange remittances from expatriate workers, and the loss of export earnings have been especially devastating. When combined with the high public expenditure necessary for healthcare and social welfare programs, as well as the fiscal and monetary policies needed to support economic revival, many developing nations, including Sri Lanka, now find themselves in a very difficult situation. Countries that had taken on significant external debt to fund their development programs are particularly badly affected, with very little reserves available to meet debt repayment obligations.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa also highlighted that the developing countries in particular have been very badly impacted by the pandemic, and it can only be achieved through the support provided by richer nations to developing countries. He also said that in contrast to the leadership provided by the World Health Organization for the global pandemic response, no world institution has stepped forward to help countries navigate their economic recovery.
Sadly, in contrast to the leadership provided by the WHO for the global pandemic response, no world institution has stepped forward to help countries navigate their economic recovery. Intergovernmental groups, regional blocs, multilateral organizations, and individual countries that could have assumed such a role on behalf of the global economy have not done so. This is unfortunate. Although the pandemic has affected rich and poor countries alike, a disproportionate impact is borne by poorer countries. Absorbing or compensating for the loss of revenue from tourism as well as the loss of foreign remittances from expatriate workers overseas due to the economic consequences of the pandemic is not easy for smaller economies. It is especially hard for economies that are already burdened with external debt obligations. It would therefore be greatly appreciated if more action could be taken by wealthy nations as well as multilateral organizations to restructure or grant moratoria.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa told the parliament that the government has a plan of making sure each and every citizen in the Colombo district a comfortable residence by the end of 2024. He made this revelation while participating in the committee stage debate on budget proposals 2022 under the financial head of one of his ministries, Urban Development and Housing Ministry, yesterday.
සෞභාග්‍ය දැක්ම ප්‍රතිපත්තිය ප්‍රකාශයට අනුව සෑම පවුලකටම සුව පහසු නිවසක් ලබා දීම රජයේ අරමුණයි. මේ යටතේ නාගරික ග්‍රාමීය වතු සහ අවතැන්වුවන් නැවත පදිංචි කිරීම වෙනුවෙන් නිවාස ඉදි කරනවා. නාගරික අඩු පහසුකම් ජනවාස වෙනුවෙන් 2024 වන විට නිවාස 50000ක් නිම කිරීමට අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. ඒ අනුව මේ වන විට නිවාස ඒකක 14083ක ඉදිකිරීම අවසන් කර ජනතාවට ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අනුව 2024 වන විට කොළඹ ප්‍රදේශයේ පවතින අඩු පහසුකම් ජනවාස නවීන නිවාස සංකීර්ණ බවට පත් කිරීම රජයේ අරමුණයි. මධ්‍යම පාර්ශ්විකයන් සඳහා නිවාස ඒකක 1108ක් 21 වර්ෂයේදී ප්‍රතිලාභ අයිතියට ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කළා. තවත් මධ්‍යම පන්තික නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘති 13ක් මගින් නිවාස ඒකක 6128ක් ඉදිකිරීමට සැලසුම් කරලා තියෙනවා. නාගරික සංවර්ධන අධිකාරිය හරහා ක්‍රියාත්මක කෙරෙන මෙම නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘති වලට සමගාමීව නාගරික ජනවාස සංවර්ධන අධිකාරිය විසින් මධ්‍යම පාන්තික නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘති 3ක් ඉදිකිරීම ආරම්භ කිරීමට නියමිත බව ප්‍රකාශ කරන ඕන.
Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break.
එය සබඳතාවයක් නොනවතින රිද්මයක් ජීවිතයටත් ක්‍රීඩාවටත් පණ දෙන නිරන්තර හදගැස්මක්.
It's time to wake up, Mahela.
දශක ගණනාවක උත්සාහයක ප්‍රතිඵලයක්. මිනිසා සහ තාක්ෂණය කියන දෙක අතර හවුල්කාරකම. හැම සීමාවක්ම අභිබවන අසමසම සැබඳියාවක්. SLT මොබිටෙල් එකම එක සැබඳියාව.
Welcome back after the break. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa also said that the government has also introduced another project to build over 14,000 houses covering all the Gram Dildari divisions in the country in each year. He also said that total project would construct over 71,000 houses before the end of the term of current regime.
ග්‍රාමීය අඩු ආදායම් ලාභීන්ගේ නිවාස ගැටලුව විසඳීම සඳහා ඔබට ගියක් රටේ හෙටක් නිවාස වැඩසටහන යටතේ සෑම වසරකම දිවයිනේ ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී වසම් 14022ක ආවරණය වන පරිදි එක ගමකට එක ගයක් බැගින් ඉදි වෙනවා. 2024 වර්ෂය වෙන විට මෙම වැඩසටහන මගින් ඉදි කිරීමෙන් නියමිත මුළු නිවාස සංඛ්‍යාව 71110ක්. එමෙන්ම සියපත මහල් නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘතිය යටතේ සෑම මැතිවරණ බල ප්‍රදේශයකටම නිවාස ඒකක 100කින් යුත් මහල් නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘතියක් බැගින් ඉදිරි කිරීමට නියමිතයි. දැනට සියපත නිවාස ව්‍යාපෘති 3ක් ඉදි කිරීම ආරම්භ කර තිබෙනවා. අවතැන්වුවන් නැවත පදිංචි කිරීම වෙනුවෙන් නිවාස 6000ක් ඉදි කිරීමට කටයුතු සැලසුම් කරලා ඉදි කිරීම කටයුතු මේ වෙන විට ක්‍රියාත්මක කරමින් පවතිනවා. වදු ප්‍රජාවගේ ජීවන තත්ත්වය නගා සිටුවීම සඳහා ඉන්දියානු රජයේ ආධාරය යටතේ නිවාස 4000ක් ඉදිකිරීම සහ යටිතල පහසුකම් සැපීමේ වැඩසටහන සාර්ථකව අවසන් කිරීමට හැකි වෙලා තියෙනවා. 2022 වර්ෂයේ සිට වතු ප්‍රජාව සඳහා නිවාස 10000ක් ඉදිකිරීම ඉන්දියානු ආධාර වැඩසටහන ආරම්භ කරන බව සතුටින් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඕනේ.
The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, together with Sri Lanka Standards Institute, has already formulated a standard for the much-talked LP gas in September this year, and however, it should be enacted by the Parliament, amending the Petroleum Resources Act. This was announced by the PUCSL officials at a media briefing held recently in Colombo.
Over the last few years, Public Utilities Commission with the Sri Lanka Standard Institute has already formulated the import inspection scheme for lubricants as well as standards for petrol, diesel and kerosene along with the LPG standards which we discussed earlier. Apart from that, in the lubricant industry, we have also formulated the standards for gasoline engine oil, diesel engine oil, two-stroke engine oil, so on and so forth. And also we have prepared the rules for transportation and storing of petroleum products. And further, the Commission has a fully fledged inspectorate comprising of engineers and the scientists to do the inspection for gas and other petroleum products with a fully trained staff and already prepared standards. Given the power through Petroleum Special Provisions Amendment Act, PUCSL can immediately start regulating gas and other petroleum industries.
Public Utilities Commission Chairman Jayantha Ratnayaka said that the LPG gas standard developed under the supervision of the Sri Lanka Standards Institution can be implemented immediately to ensure the protection of consumers of LPG. He stressed that, however, the PUCSL does not have the legal powers to enforce the standard and it should be enacted by the Cabinet and the Parliament.
The standards we have finalized together with Sri Lanka Standard Institution. What we need to do is to bring amendment to the Petroleum Act and get the Cabinet approval and the Parliament approval to empower a regulatory authority. We propose PUCSL, since we have been designated as the regulator for these 3-4 utility sectors, then we will be able to start regulating this sector immediately in order to avoid this unfortunate situation that is faced by many people every day. And we talk about standards, we are talking about quality, but what happens is, end of the day, unless we have proper mechanism to test the quality and if you have proper procedures to follow, to distribute, to usage this, product and services, people will have always doubt and maybe face situations of this nature. So therefore, it is important that the government take a speedy action to empower Public Utilities Commission to bring forward these standards and regulate this industry in order to avoid this present situation in the country.
Stay tuned for stock updates.
18 days more for Christmas.
Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The All Share Price Index gained 53.76 points to close at 11,088.17 and the S&P SL20 gained 19.47 points to close at 3,966.47. The turnover was 6 billion rupees and over 875 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. And that's all news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care and good night.
State of Business was sponsored by
SLT Mobitel Fiber. Deshe Fiber Balavega.